In this video, you'll learn everything you need to start making animated cartoon videos with AI. Over the past month, I built this course and reduced everything to an effective 5-step workflow. And the wildest part about this whole thing is you don't need any animation, prompting, editing, or AI experience at all. I'm going to walk you through everything. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear workflow that takes you from nothing to creating cartoons like the ones you just saw whenever you want. Now, the first step of this process is to generate the actual prompts for your cartoon. For that, I put together a template for you that you can find in the description below. There are going to be a couple of templates, and you want to copy over this one first. This will basically plan out your whole cartoon. Go ahead and bring this over to your GPT window. In the bottom right, you'll see a space to write your movie idea. For my idea, I'm going with an alien detective and his dog sidekick are looking for a big slime monster. When they find it, a fight breaks out. They end up defeating the monster, and then they move over to their next job in their UFO. And everything is in a Pixar animated style. Now, you can go much more detailed than this, which will help the AI understand your specific scenario better. Or you can keep things much looser. It all depends on how clear your initial idea is. But one thing I always recommend is having a clear hero, a clear villain, and a sidekick like I'm doing right here. This structure gives the AI something solid to work with and helps the cartoon feel like an actual story. Once everything is ready, go ahead and send it, and ChatGPT will give you a few things back. It will give you a snapshot, basically a simple explanation of your story. It will give you the character definitions and give you the scene breakdowns, which is where you can go in and change anything you don't like. Finally, it will provide the final resolution of the whole matter. Mine got broken down into 5 different scenes. The first one establishes the mystery and the search for the villain. It also includes which characters are going to appear and some key actions for each scene. This is really useful because now you're not trying to work around what happens next. Everything is mapped out for you before you even generate a single image. Once you're happy with everything, go ahead and copy over step number 2 from the template and simply write, make the prompts for the characters. This will give you image prompts that you can later take and use to generate your actual characters. But before we jump into that, I also want to make the prompt for my first scene. For this, you're going to use your second template. This one you don't actually have to write anything in, just copy and paste it and send it to your chat. This will now request the actual scenes from you. You can just copy over scene number 1 like I'm doing right here. Now you get clear image descriptions and prompts for the visuals. Step 2 of this workflow is to generate the actual images. For that, I'm going to use a tool called OpenArt. The reason I'm using it is because it has all the best image and video generators, as well as a ton of other features that are going to make this process incredibly easier and faster. I'll show you each one of those features in just a second. With that said, if you want to follow along, you can sign up for OpenArt using the link in the description below. Then you want to switch over to the Image tab, then go ahead and click Create Image. From there, you can select the model by clicking the switch. For this, I'm using Nano Banana Pro because it is by far the best model for both generating images and editing them afterwards. This is going to make everything work 10 times better, but feel free to test out different ones if you want. Once we have Nano Banana Pro selected, I'm going to copy over my first character description prompt. It goes like this: a short, slim alien detective in a Pixar-style 3D animated look, smooth teal skin with a soft, slightly rubbery cartoon texture, large expressive eyes with a curious intelligent gaze, small rounded head, compact body proportions, subtle antenna or ear-like fins, wearing a light tan detective coat with simple buttons, a compact utility belt, and a glowing communicator badge clipped to the chest, confident posture, relaxed shoulders, clever and slightly quirky personality, visible through facial expressions, bright, colorful lighting, soft shadows, family-friendly animated style, no realism, no sharp edges, no hyper detail, consistent character proportions and outfit across all scenes. I'm going to paste it inside the prompt window, then I'm going to switch the size to widescreen. After that, I use the highest resolution available to make sure any regenerated images using the main character as a reference stay high quality. This keeps everything cinematic and consistent across your scenes. Once that's done, you can select the number of images you want to generate. I'm going to go with 4, then click Generate. And here are all 4 images. I honestly like all of them, but the third one looks the best, so I'm going with that. Now I'm basically going to repeat the process for the other 2 characters. First, the sidekick. Here is the prompt I'll use: a cartoon dog sidekick in a Pixar-style 3D animated look, medium small body with oversized paws and a slightly oversized head, floppy ears, round snout, big expressive eyes full of curiosity, smooth fur with simplified texture, warm neutral fur colors, wearing a small futuristic space collar with a softly glowing tag, energetic and playful stance, tail often raised or wagging, highly expressive body language, exaggerated reactions, loyal and friendly vibe, Bright, soft lighting, colorful animation style. No realism, no sharp detail, consistent proportions across all scenes. This one came out looking even cooler. I think the sidekick is actually my favorite character, and then the slime monster. I'm gonna go with this one right here, a large amorphous slime monster in a Pixar-style 3D animated look. Made of glowing green semi-transparent slime with soft gradients, blobby shape, with shifting edges, bubbles floating inside its body. Occasional simple facial features forming in the slime, not always stable. Feels dangerous through size and movement, but visually goofy and playful. Smooth, glossy surface with cartoon physics, no sharp spikes, bright, colorful lighting with subtle internal glow, family-friendly animated tone, not scary or realistic, consistent color, size, and slime behavior across scenes. With that, we now have all of our characters. You want to either download them or just start them right here in OpenArt so you can easily find them later. Once you're done with that, we actually want to start generating the scenes. So going back to ChatGPT, you can see it tells you both what the images will show and the exact prompts to use. This is why the template is so powerful. All the prompting is already taken care of. For the first scene, we're going to copy over the prompt and paste it in. Zorb and Bolt walking side by side down a neon-lit alien city street at night. Futuristic buildings glowing with colorful signs and soft reflections on the ground. Zorb walking cautiously, looking ahead with focused eyes, Bolt trotting beside him, alert and curious. Medium-wide shot, eye-level camera, cinematic cartoon lighting, vibrant colors, calm but investigative mood. But before we generate, we want to click on the Omni Reference window, go to the History tab, and select both of our character images. This is really important. You want to select your characters for every scene they appear in. This keeps everything consistent across your shots, so your character doesn't slowly morph into something it wasn't supposed to be. With that said, I'm going to make sure all of my settings are on the highest option available and generate my first shot. And this one came out looking super cool. I really like how the Pixar vibe mixes with the darker mood here. I also love how the main character looks serious while the sidekick looks super happy, even though they're in some weird street. Little details like that make the whole thing feel alive. Now we're going to repeat that process and create images for all of our scenes. So I'm going to go back and this time take my next prompt and paste that in. This time I also want to use my previous scene so the AI has the full context of what we're actually working with. So I'll remove the characters for a moment, add the previous scene as the first image, and then bring both characters back. With that set, I'm going to generate my next scene. Here is the next prompt. Same alley environment, Zorb kneeling slightly to inspect glowing green slime trail on the street. Bolt nearby, lowering his head toward the ground, neon lights reflecting off the wet pavement, camera slightly lower angle, closer framing to emphasize the trail. Zorb focused and analytical, Bolt curious, Pixar-style animation, soft glow from the slime. It looks really cool. The style is consistent, the characters feel a little more alive, and overall, I think it turned out great. Let's repeat the process for the next one. Again, I'm going to copy and paste my prompt, remove my previous scene from the Omni Reference field, add the one I need, and then generate. Same thing again, and the result is super cool. Now let's repeat for the final one. And now we have all of our shots made. Let's quickly look through them. You can already see the cartoon coming together before we animate anything, but that's exactly what we're going to do in our next step. This process will be different for regular scenes and action scenes. For the normal ones, we will use the prompts provided by the AI, as you already probably noticed. For action scenes, we start with the first prompt and build the fight from there. That's because ChatGPT doesn't have the visual context, so it doesn't know how to adjust camera angles or add camera movement. On the other hand, we can actually see what's happening. And don't worry if that sounds complicated, I'll walk you through that. But let's start with the normal scene first. First, go to the Video tab and pick the model we'll be using. Now I'll walk you through a couple of model options. Some of the ones I love the most are the Kling family, specifically the 2.6 and the 2.5 models. They are super good at cartoon styles and are the most cost efficient. The 2.5 has an end frame feature, which we'll use in just a second. I can also recommend VO 3.1 here. This one also has an end frame, and it has way better audio. It is generally better at realism, but it works well for cartoons too. The only downside is that it is pretty expensive, so keep that in mind. I can also recommend Sora 2, but it sometimes can get tricky because it doesn't allow you to animate humans. And so if your character is looking too human-like, it can actually produce an error, which makes it so that you would not be able to use it. But for this one, we'll stick with Kling 2.6. For the first shot, ChatGPT suggests starting with an establishing shot of both characters. So I'm going to paste my initial image in my image frame here, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste in my prompt. Animate Zorb and Bolt walking forward slowly while scanning their surroundings. Slight forward camera dolly following their movement. Next, I set the duration to 5 seconds. That's another reason Kling 2.6 works so well. It doesn't force longer clips immediately. Then I'm going to turn on my audio, let's click create and check out the result. And it came out looking super cool. I love how weird and kinda happy the characters are. It creates this kind of fun looking and super cinematic starting shot that introduces us to our characters. Next up, ChatGPT tells us to create a shot that in this case only requires one image. From experience, the transition works better when the last frame of one clip becomes the first frame of the next. For this step, inside OpenArt, I'm using the grab frame to video feature. If you click on it, you can either grab any frame you want or the last frame of your video. If I click and grab the last frame, it automatically moves it inside my window, ready for me to use. So I'm just going to switch the model to Kling 2.5, since this is the one that allows you to use both an end frame and the starting frame. And I'm going to use the grabbed frame as my starting image, and then I'm going to upload my next scene as my end frame. And then I'm going to paste in the prompt that will create the animation. With that being said, let's select the duration to 5 seconds, since I don't want it to be a long shot, and select quality mode to Pro. The result is super cool. It has a very smooth animation. There's no visible transition here because we grabbed the last frame from the previous shot, so it flows straight into this one. This sets up the search for the monster really well. Let's repeat the process for the following scenes. I'm going to switch the starting frame with the end frame, upload my next image, paste in my prompt, and generate the next result. This one looks super cool as well. Let's repeat it for the next one. And this one looks amazing as well. That was the normal scenes. Let's now do some of the more dynamic ones. First, let me generate all the prompts with the ChatGPT template. And here is where you might notice a problem. The problem with the prompts is that they share the same angle. So here we are, only using the first one. I'll start with the first fight prompt, which opens with a medium-wide establishing shot as the fight begins. Zorb and Bolt facing the large slime monster in a junkyard covered in splattered green slime. The monster looms in the foreground, tall and dominant. Zorb stands braced with determination, Bolt positioned off to the side mid-motion, broken scrap piles and slime-coated ground around them, medium-wide shot, dynamic composition, dramatic cartoon lighting. Here's the result that I got. It looks nice, but now let's build it out into a real fighting scene. I want to have a zoom-in shot towards the monster's face as my first one. I'll run this image through Kling with a fast zoom toward the monster's face. And here's the shot. This will serve as our first one. Next up, I also want to have a transition to the surprise face of Zorb. So I'm going to go back to the image generator and prompt for a close-up shot of Zorb. Then I'm going to bring the image of him being surprised back to the video generator and animate it. Next up, I want to move my detective away from the slime. And I'm going to do that from the video section and remove the green alien from the shot. And the result came out amazing. Next up, I want to animate the sidekick. He goes into attack, but the slime fights back and turns it around on him. I'll screenshot the end of the clip with Zorb running away, use it as the starting image, and paste in my prompt. This also came out looking pretty good. Next, let's create a scene with our detective, firing some laser shots with his pistol and hitting the slime. I'm already in the image section with the images I need to create this shot in the Omni reference field. And then I'm going to paste in my prompt, add the alien in the scene with a laser gun is standing close to the camera, pointing his laser gun towards the slime. Now let's take that to the video section. It looks really nice, I love how it came out. The whole cartoon really starts to come along. That is basically the process. You set the characters into different positions and then animate the action in between. You don't need to write overcomplicated prompts, just do one action at a time until the whole scene is done. Now you understand how to create calm scenes and dynamic fight scenes. Let's take this cartoon to a totally different level with the next step. For this step, we are going to head over to another tool. This one is called ElevenLabs. Many of you may know this as a really good speech generator, but what it also has is an incredibly good sound effect feature. Now when you log into ElevenLabs, you can click over to the sound effects feature, and here you can either just pick from the different ones that you have here, or generate some of your own. In the prompt window in the bottom here, you can just prompt the exact thing you want to get as a sound effect. I'm going to go ahead and write a slimy monster punching something, and then let's take a listen to all of them. This one came out sounding pretty good, and now we're moving into the final step, which is stitching everything together. Now it may sound easy, but it actually is not as easy if you don't know the exact things and tricks you want to use. First, I recommend starting the generations you're happy with as you create them. Make sure everything stays organized so it's easy to find later on. Once you have all of your generations made and animated into actual videos, you want to go ahead and download them and paste them into a video editor of your choice. When you do that, go ahead and finish your video. I have already completed mine, and here is the final result. This gives us a polished cartoon with a clear flow from the search to the fight scene. At this point, you understand the full 5-step process. Imagine what you can do with this. You can now take any idea in your head and turn it into a fully done, action-packed AI cartoon without ever needing animation skills, design experience, or even knowing how AI works. You can use this for social media content, for fun projects, for film ideas, for literally anything you want. And honestly, all of this is only possible because of OpenArt. With OpenArt, all the top models are available in one place. You can easily turn images into animation, and the whole process becomes even easier with features like grab frame to video. If you'd like to start making AI-powered cartoons, sign up for OpenArt using the link below.